Watch the ride.
Hey everybody, hope you're all doing alright out there. So recently I got an email from Bsa who said, hey, would you like to check out one of our Gold Stars? And I said, I'd love to. So I have this for a couple of weeks and I'm going to do my normal review series. If you're new to my channel, I do things a little bit differently when I'm given a long-term bike loan. I make a first ride video, which is literally my first sort of ride on it, emotional impressions. I'll do more detailed videos in the middle, using it, looking at different aspects, and then it all culminates in the end with a full review. Now, the first rides tend to get more views than reviews, even though I know nothing about the bike now compared to what I will know in 2 weeks' time when I make the review. So if you do watch the first ride, please do subscribe to the channel and check out that final review if you check out nothing else. But I do try and make these videos entertaining on their own. In the next video, I'm going to take a proper close look at all the bits and pieces on this bike, the build quality, and, you know, what parts are what, and get facts and figures and specs. But I will let you know the basics. This is a Bsa Goldstar 650. It is a 650cc single cylinder. Now you may know I own a DRZ 400 SM, which is actually a 440 because of the version in it. But that is again a single cylinder with about 40 odd brake horsepower. This is claimed to have about 45. So performance between these two engines should be relatively similar, though because this is a 650, bigger piston, things like that, they always tend to be a little bit more slower revving, a bit more relaxed. If you look at the other 650s, like the DR650 versus the 400, the 650 doesn't rev up as fast and it's a bit more agricultural. Now, to my understanding, that engine is made in partnership with Rotax, and you can see there's some Brembos on it, so there is some kit on this bike. Okay, well, I'm 6'4", and I'm sat perfectly comfortably on this. We'll talk about that more in a minute, but this isn't the biggest bike in the world. It is quite a small thing, but it's also quite chonky, weighs about 200 kilos, so there's a bit of heft to it. As you can see, we have a combination, and as I say, my closer look video, I'll do proper video with the SLR so you can see everything really nicely. We have actual analog dials for miles an hour and kilometers, and the miles an hour are on the outside. That is a great thing to see. And we have the rev counter on this side, and we have a little screen down here which gives us information like neutral light and stuff like that. Fuel gauges on this side, and we've got the odometer there. Basic controls, that's all you need to know. Okay, so let's start her up. And that is the first thing to mention. This is a single cylinder 650, but it's very quiet in comparison to what you might expect. That is because of the exhaust. Let's get going, shall we? The exhaust has got a baffle in it, which can be removed from the looks of it, but it's riveted in with 2 rivets, and I can't drill things out for reviews, so it's going to have to be the way that it is. But I would have loved to hear this bike opened up, you know, so it could actually sound like the older BSAs back in the day. One of the first things I noticed about this, which was quite impressive, is how smooth this engine is. I don't feel many vibrations through the bars. There's a few, you know, you can feel the rumble of the engine, but there's nothing really buzzy immediately. Now you have to remember in context, if you're used to riding inline 4s, you're going to think any vibration is something. If you ride single cylinders, you have a different scale. If you've ridden a KTM 625, also known as the 640, you'll know that scale then gets a different scale. It's very different, but for a single cylinder, this engine feels very nicely balanced. Now in a coming video, I will take this off the island onto some faster roads, find out what it's like, what sort of speeds we can do, what sort of revs we're sitting at 70 miles an hour, wind protection, all that sort of stuff. But in this one, as I say, it's just a first ride. It's just riding it around my local area to see how it feels. I can tell immediately the EFI on this is a little bit basic. There is a bit of an on and off at the bottom of the throttle with a bit of a sort of but once you get past that opening point, as long as you're holding it around there, it's fine. I think I need to adjust these mirrors further forward, like bend them forward, because I'm seeing a lot of arm currently. But I will say, and this is testament to, you know, how smoothly this engine actually runs, I see single images in those mirrors, not blurs of vibrations, and that, on a single cylinder on the bars, is quite impressive. Handling is nice. You know, this is a classic bike shape. It's not a sports bike, but it handles lovely. It's a very generalised bike. You know, this is back in the day where you didn't have an off-road bike and an on-road bike. You just had a bike and you just did whatever you wanted with it. I like that sort of, old school side of motorcycling. They really didn't care, they just got on with it. Which is something I've always done, like going green laning on road tyres on supermotos. They're not made for it, they're not specialised for it, but they can do it and they're fun. Now, as I say, the engine note is very, very quiet. It's got a little bit of a rumble to it, and then afterwards you get this almost like whistle of a turbo going on the way down. It actually sounds quite nice to just, poodling around town, not disturbing people too much, not being too obnoxious in some people's eyes. It's fine, but it just seems to respond really nicely to being ridden gently and just short shifted around 4,000. It's got the torque for that, and it just makes it a very pleasant, chill ride. I've said the same sort of thing about a BMW R9T actually. They don't respond to you really sort of grabbing them and wringing their necks. They like to be ridden respectfully. If you're on my Patreon or my YouTube memberships, you will have the opportunity to ask me questions while I still have this bike, as I release my videos. If you're seeing this on YouTube, these videos were released onto Patreon probably a week or more ago. If you've got any questions while I've still got the bike, go ahead and drop those in the comments, and do that on the YouTube video. They're easier to see than on Patreon and YouTube memberships separately. So this is a good example where I'm just saying one gear, comfortably pootling along, easily got enough power to pick up the speed. It's nice. The seat is firm enough but also squidgy enough, so it's really quite comfortable actually. The suspension, I'll let you know more about that, as I say, in a future video where I take this into some country roads and try and push it a bit harder. What I can say already is I think that the rear suspension might be just a little bit soft. I have adjusted the preload on the rear up to the one before maximum to see if that would improve it, and it is less bouncy than when I first got it. But I will say that the suspension was on the lower setting at that point, so, what chance did it have with 6'4" of me on it? It still has a bit of a sort of, an undulating bump when you go over something big, but it's very comfortable. It's taken out a lot of the jarring of this road, and I can say the roads on this island are in an absolute state currently, so this is more comfortable than my XJ6 for sure, because that thing I just look over all of this. Leans nicely, power comes on as you want it. I like it so far, I really do. It does feel very different in its throttle response to my DRZ 400SM though. As I say, it is a 440cc single. That is a lot more snappy, aggressive, and just the gearing shorter, so you really are just through the gears. You can do that with this, but it has got slightly longer gearing, it feels, and it does seem to give its power out a little bit more gradually. It has less engine braking than maybe I would have expected from a 650 single, but again, I haven't ridden this fully aggressively yet, and you'll notice that more when you're being a bit more, say, pushy with it. So I mean about the short shifting, it just feels nice. I'm actually quite glad that I've got this bike in the autumn. I don't know, something just seems very fitting about that. Normally I get bikes in the middle of the summer, and yeah, that's nice, but this is such a quintessentially sort of English bike, British bike, should we say, even though I believe they are now made in India because the BSA sell off to another company and blah blah, and you can look into that. But as I say, you can see they're using good parts. This is a Rotax partnered engine, and it's got Brembos on it. Those two things tell you something about this bike. Now obviously I won't be able to comment much on reliability or things like that, long-term things for these bikes, because I've only got it for 2 weeks. If something goes wrong in the 2 weeks, yeah, sure, I will say, but it seems, quite unlikely for that to happen, so I can't talk to the more long-term aspects of owning a bike like this. Because of the way, as I say, this bike likes to be ridden gently, sort of short-shifted and just respected, it makes it really enjoyable to ride at normal road speeds, because it doesn't feel like it just wants to keep going. It just like, oh, we're cool, we're just cruising, this is what we do. As I say, the videos I know I'm going to be doing after this one with this bike is taking a closer look at it. I'll also do one where I take it into the country roads and stuff like that, and also onto motorways and faster roads and drive it more aggressively. Things like that. Proper testing. That's going to come in future videos. As I say, if you do a single review of a bike, you really do skip over so much stuff, and because you've only had it for maybe a day or so, you don't know too much about it. After 2 weeks, after the first week even of having a bike, you really start to know anything that's getting annoying, anything that you think's really good, stuff that really grows on you that you wouldn't think that it would, like that little whistle of this, the excited shrimp. The clutch is a nice weight, I will say that as well. It's quite light, but it's got just enough heft to it that you can really fine control it without any sort of jerkiness, which is something that can happen if your clutch is too light. And also, if you do own one of these bikes, get in the comments, let us know what you think. What have you found? There is plenty of seat behind me that taking a pillion on this would be fine, I think, and there are the pillion pegs for it. So I'm also getting to know this bike a lot better now. That's the other problem with, say doing short reviews, is there's an amount of you getting to know the bike before you want to start saying what you think about it, but sometimes you have to sort of accelerate that, and that maybe is the skill of us YouTube reviewers who do this a lot, not just the odd one of our own bike, is that we are good at jumping from bike to bike to bike to bike and getting to know them quick. Let's try a heavier downshift. Second, third, and then we're going to go for 2. Yeah, see, it almost feels like it has a slipper clutch on it. I don't think it does. No, I just got to chirp out the tyre. Right, I think that pretty much covers the things I cover in a first ride. So far, my feelings are, I really quite like it. It's charming, it's got character. And I'm really looking forward to taking it into, faster roads and things like that, and getting to know it a bit more. So if you did enjoy this video, as I say, please hit that like button, subscribe if you're new here, and if you want to help support this channel, please consider doing that through Patreon or YouTube memberships. You'll get early access to videos, get into my Discords, and obviously you get the ability to ask me questions while I have a bike, because I release these videos as soon as they're made, which is soon-ish after. So until the next one, bye-bye.